World War II was a conflict that reshaped our world, but even within its massive history, some events remain shrouded in mystery, and some battles were fought with a ferocity that is truly hard to comprehend. Today, we're diving into some of the most mysterious and deadly conflicts of the war. Let us start with a puzzle that has baffled historians for decades: the disappearance of the Ghost blimp. In August 1942, a U.S. Navy airship, the L-8, took off from near San Francisco for a routine coastal patrol. Hours later, it drifted back to land and crashed in Daly City. The strange part, the two-man crew had vanished. The airship was in near-perfect condition. The parachutes were still on board. The life raft was untouched, and a confidential briefcase was secure. But the crewmen, Lieutenant Ernest Cody and Ensign Charles Adams, were gone without a trace. What happened to them? Did they fall out? Were they taken? No distress calls were ever received, and no bodies were ever found. The fate of the L-8's crew remains one of the war's most enduring aviation mysteries. Now, let's shift from mystery to sheer brutality. We're heading to the Eastern Front, the setting for some of the largest and bloodiest battles in human history. While everyone knows about Stalingrad, let's talk about the Battle of RZHEV, fought between 1942 and 1943. This series of Soviet offensives against the German army was so horrific it became known as the Urzev meat grinder. For over a year, millions of soldiers clashed in a brutal war of attrition. The conditions were nightmarish: freezing temperatures, constant shelling, and relentless assaults over the same scarred pieces of land. The Soviet losses were staggering, with estimates reaching over 1 million casualties. It was a desperate, grinding struggle where human life was expended on an industrial scale. The battle ultimately drained German resources, but at a cost that is almost impossible to imagine. Next, we venture into the dense jungles of Southeast Asia for the Battle of the Tennis Court. This wasn't a sporting event. It was a small but incredibly vicious part of the larger Battle of Kohima. In 1944, a small force of British and Indian soldiers found themselves defending a ridge against a determined Japanese invasion. The fighting became so close that it centered on the district commissioner's bungalow and his tennis court. For weeks, the two sides fought hand-to-hand across the lines of the court itself. Grenades were thrown from one side of the net to the other. It was brutal, intimate combat where soldiers could literally see the faces of their enemies just a few yards away. This desperate stand was a turning point, halting the Japanese advance into India. But the tennis court became a symbol of the raw, desperate courage shown in the face of impossible odds. Finally, let's look at the Battle of the Atlantic. Not a single clash, but a conflict that raged for the entire duration of the war. It was the longest continuous military campaign, a deadly cat-and-mouse game between German U-boats and Allied convoys. The stakes were incredibly high. Britain depended on these convoys for food, fuel, and war materials. If the U-boats could sever this lifeline, the war could be lost. For years, the advantage swung back and forth. German wolf packs would stalk and sink ships in the dead of night, while the Allies desperately developed new technologies like radar and sonar to fight back. The sailors on both sides lived with constant tension, knowing that a torpedo or a depth charge could end their lives at any moment. Tens of thousands of sailors and merchant mariners perished in the cold, dark waters of the Atlantic in this silent, unseen, but absolutely vital struggle. From ghost airships to battles fought over tennis courts, World War II is filled with stories that go beyond the famous headlines. They remind us of the immense scale, the strange mysteries, and the incredible human cost of the conflict. Thanks so much for watching. If you found these stories as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Let me know in the comments which wartime mystery you find the most intriguing. See you in the next one.